Welcome to another episode of the 100% podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy. Today, I'm delighted to be welcoming back a returning guest. Mr. Luke Harrison is a men's health coach. He's an all-round good guy and owner of the Supercharged Tribe. Welcome back for your third appearance on the 100% podcast, Mr. Luke Harrison.
Apparently the third appearance.
The only third appearance.
The only, well, there you go. There you go.
That you'll ever get. But there may be a fourth, who knows. Welcome back, mate. Thanks for coming back to the show.
Thanks.
One thing I will say is the reason that I line up people like yourself to come on multiple times is because A, I really enjoy the conversations we have, but B, I hold you up there in somebody that I'm like, look, this guy is what I'm about, gets the message of health. And one of the conversations we've had recently, I think I actually overheard you saying to somebody at one of our events with Paul Mort, he was like, what are you training for at the moment? And you were like, I just want to be fit for life. So what does that mean to you?
What does that mean to me? Fit for life. It's better, I remember hearing the phrase, it's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than it is to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
Nice.
That stuck with me for years since I started like this whole development journey. I was like, what if something came up and I was like, nah, I can't do that. Nah. Hesitation, fear, uncertainty, doubt. It's always going to be there, but you can reduce the intensity of that feeling if you're just prepared.
Yeah.
Fit for life. But fit as in physically fit obviously impacts your mental state, as everybody knows. When you're physically well, you're usually mentally well. There's not that many people who are physically in shit hot shape who are enormously struggling mentally. It's not to say it doesn't happen, but you will see a correlation with people who are out of shape. Not necessarily fat, but unfit, not strong, don't look after their body, and they have negative mental health in a far greater quantity than those who do look after their physical health. So for me, I was like, I know that being physically fit impacts my mental health. So it impacts my ability to physically be ready for a challenge. Let's say I wanted to climb a mountain. I wanted to go and do something physical with a group of people. I wanted to do a physical holiday or a little challenge on my own. But also I wanted to be mentally prepared, because when you're physically fit, I think you're more mentally prepared for whatever life throws at you.
Yeah, I love that. And I think there's such a correlation between, I'll tell you what's interesting actually. The only example I could think of when you're like, if somebody's physically fit, they're 9 times out of 10 going to be in a good state to like above average state mentally.
Yep.
Is when people attach their aesthetic look to their whole being and their whole vibe, and that's the only thing that they're focused on. With you, there's so many other things that come with being fit for life. There isn't just about your physical shape as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I take pride in how I look. I don't want to look a mess. I don't want to look a state. I always take pride in how I look physically, and I have for a long, long time. And I've noticed that when you look in the mirror and you like what you see, you just feel better. So it's important to be physically well. But what comes with that is obviously looking after yourself. At first, we train for vanity. I think anybody does. We train for vanity because we want to lose weight, be accepted, be more sexually attractive to the opposite, especially if we're single. People go on this constant, like, I'll lose weight and show me X wrong and all the rest. But obviously at first it's vanity. That's why people think they need the gym, think they need to go out running, think they need a diet. But then when it really truly sets in as a lifestyle is when we train for sanity, not vanity. When we understand the mental aspects of the physical side of it, everything shifts from that point. We obviously want to look good, but looking good at the expense of everything else in your life will make you ultimately sad.
Yeah.
Because they'll always be like, oh, weight's creeped on. Oh, that doesn't fit as well as what it should. Oh, I don't like the way this looks about me. It's always you'll focus on the negative, never take the positives. Whereas if you train to feel good, you'll look good as a side effect of treating yourself better along the way.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I think it's really interesting, actually. For the first time in my time in development, I did train for a shoot, but with a aesthetics coach, and he knew my message straight away, right? Which was mind first, like physical fitness and body kind of second.
Yeah.
And as you're aware as well, after doing a couple of trainings for your clients and hearing me speak at Everyman Theatre, is that, you know, like a lot of my journey is revolved around endurance. That's kind of where I've niched myself into as the top of my pinnacle so far, right? Yeah. So doing an aesthetic change during that challenge of training for an ultramarathon was pretty tough. And within that journey, you do tend to find yourself and I don't know if you've done, I'm sure you may have done a photo shoot along your, and I know you've done a few jobs that may involve like having a good figure and stuff as well.
Yep.
But you do tend to find yourself going, oh yeah, this week in my photos, my back looks absolutely jacked, but I don't have the hamstring separation and stuff like that. And I think that's a really interesting place to, if you find yourself in there, in that situation or in that place, to just take a step back and remind yourself why it is that you're turning up to the gym and why it is that it's never really about the hamstring separation. It's about how you feel.
The only reason people do this is because they have this warped perception that that is what training is. Like the only people who really need to be paying attention to things like that are bodybuilders.
Yeah.
People who are actually going to go on stage, flex their muscles, do a pose to be judged upon their body for a competition. Like most 99.9% of the world doesn't need to do that.
No, that's right.
They need to train to feel good. If you want to become a bodybuilder and be on the cover of Men's Health, fair enough.
Yeah.
If you want to be on stage, be concerned about the hamstring separation, the body fat percentage. Be concerned about this, maybe the size of your bicep, your waist to hip ratio, the V taper that you've got going on. For most people, it doesn't matter. Like, this is why I say a lot of, especially lads going wrong in the gym. Not I'm saying it's wrong to do, but often the approach of I'll do a chest and arm day. This is back and buys. It's leg day. Like mine's just movement day. I train a push, a pull, a squat, a hinge, a carry. I will lift things with my arms. I'll do curls, but I'd consider it a pull or a push.
Yeah.
I'll say I'm training to move the body. The body is moving through a mechanical movement. And thus, if it's adequate resistance and my protein's good and my rest's good, I will build muscle and strength. I'm not training to be a bodybuilder. Most people who go to the gym are not. They just think that that's what they need to do. And actually, you'll get more out of it. I personally believe that from a longevity standpoint, when you're training movements and you're training to feel good and move well, most people just train to lift weights to get a pump or train back and biceps.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way. You still get results that way, don't get me wrong, and I did for many years. But when I switched that whole mindset from just lifting weights to look good, and then to shifting my body to move to feel good, that shifted everything. And now I can see what I'm doing with slight adjustments, carrying on for the rest of my days. Like, I hesitate to say into my 90s. I'd like to think that could happen.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't put it past you neither. I honestly, like, from knowing you like I do and the conversation we've had and the focus that you have and the intensity, and one of the things that I'll speak about is you always seem like you're motivated. So we can come on to that as well shortly. But one thing that I would say as well, actually, in a similar fashion, but when I first started my journey, as you would have seen, and as a lot of people would have seen, a lot of my journey originally was just my outlet of exercise was running. Yep. And it would make me feel pretty good. Yeah. But if you look at my transformation photos, weight loss photos from when I was 23 stone to maybe even down to 18 stone, yeah, of course I had a smaller body, but there was nothing to me that, in terms of the body shape, yes, it got smaller, but it hadn't changed. If you do want that weight training in itself, not just for vanity, but for performance, for how you feel, how you perform in terms of strength, like especially for me crossing over to a football pitch, it's an absolute no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And weight training's a funny thing because people think it has to be going to the gym and doing some curls or presses, when in actuality, a dumbbell, a kettlebell, a barbell, a sandbag, another person. Yeah. Anything technically is weight training if you're picking it up and it's heavy.
Yeah, man.
And like if you look at strong men training, they pick up some very weird stuff, big stones and things like that. Like anything is weight training. If it's heavy and it's challenging, it's weight training. It doesn't need to be as well that you go in and you just have to curl or press. You could pick something up and walk with it. Yeah. Weighted carry is one of the most underutilized things for grip and core strength, which is, as we know, one of the weakest things in modern society, grip strength and core strength, which is really the ultimate test of strength. Yeah. For longevity as well. If you can grip well and you've got a good core level, you're healthy, you're strong. But a lot of people don't realize that, and they go on the route of just following what they see somebody else do or what the next latest TikTok trend was or the Instagram model did. And this doesn't have to be that way. Yeah,
I definitely feel there's a bit of a shift with that as well. In terms of my upbringing, as I sound like an old man saying that, but in terms of when I was younger, the influence of somebody like Chris Bumstead, would have been so minimal, because you'd have had to have buy a Men's Health magazine to see people like that. But now it is literally everywhere. And like in both aspects, there's like really unhealthy habits and unhealthy elements of the social media world that are out there, and they're in the algorithm. If you were to like click on it and look at it or like it, but then also in the same breath, if somebody like Chris Bumstead does interest you, you're going to be seeing that bodybuilding element, and that may be influencing some of the younger population now. And I do see in the gym from where I'm from in Yeovil, a lot of the lads, they're so intensely training on physique only, which, by the way, I think like if you're a young lad and you are single, of course it's a good, you can see why they might be doing it
100%.
But at the same time, if that is where you're getting your self-worth from, for example, and that's being fed, I think it's really important to remember that this guy you're seeing on TikTok, whether it be Chris Bumstead or any of the others, that is their livelihood, and this is not yours.
Image is attached to so much self-worth now, which I can see why, and I do think it plays a big role in it. How old are you?
33 now.
Right, so I'm 40 next month. So you grew up with the Chris Bumstead and all that, but I grew up with Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler. So when I was just getting into weights, like 16, 17, those were the guys who were on the front of Flex magazine and all that. But this was, you're talking 2002, 3, 4. The internet didn't really come in until 05, 06, big. Social media wasn't big till about 08, 09.
Yeah.
So during them foundational years, when I was a young lad, like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, all we had was a Flex magazine. All we had was Muscle and Fitness from the newsagents. So we would follow that, but there wasn't an absolute adamant need for you to be totally in shape.
Yeah.
Whereas now, with social media, the bar is always raising, the standards are always raising, but it's always it's false standards. It's the highlight reel of what you're seeing.
Yeah.
It's the best moments. So there's more mental health struggles now linked to physical, what you look like physically, because of the oversaturation and stimulation of social media, and saying you must look like this to be accepted, or you must be this way to be, in somewhat relevant. There's almost like a competition for people to be popular now, which is mad. Like we were talking about the algorithm thing before we started, which is quite an interesting topic to cover. Actually,
it is. People
trying to cover this algorithm and be popular, which I get, and it makes you feel good. Actual story that's happened this week. I don't know if you've seen, but I went viral this week from.
Oh no, I've not seen, mate. Yeah.
So I took a post, a picture on Sunday, just a selfie of me in a restaurant, and I was sitting on my own having a steak. You seen that?
Yes, on my notes.
So that's went viral, what I would class as quite viral. So I spoke about this morning to my guys. I was like, look, what goes viral these days is mostly negative things about the government, the country, the left and right, all this shit, right? That's usually what goes viral.
Yeah, man.
It's something that's, I guess you could say, negative, polarizing. It gets people's back up. People can complain and feel relevant. Or it's something funny that's hilarious, that goes viral. It's very rare that we see something positive go viral. It does happen, but like when it does, we're like taken back, because it's always negativity or funny. It's entertainment, isn't it? It's entertainment and something that to have a common enemy, because that's what the culture and society is now. So this post that I took was just a random post. I've said, look, I was at a restaurant on Sunday night on my own, and this guy came over, the waiter, and he couldn't do enough for us. He was a guy fresh out of uni. He was amazing. He kept saying if I was okay, tried to help us out with an iPhone charger. He was just, his etiquette and his overall demeanour and attitude was amazing. It was a 10 out of 10 service from an average steak restaurant. And I had a great time on my own because of this lad. So when he came over, I gave him a 20 quid tip. He was over the moon. I said, send your manager over. You've done an amazing job and I need to tell him. And I just told this story in a few paragraphs, and it's just like 10,000 likes, 700 comments, all the rest, just people filling up, sharing it off. And I was like, oh, wow, this is mad. But I don't post. I've done over 10,000 posts on social media. And if you come by me emails, me videos, me YouTube, everything else, since like 2007, 8, maybe since I started posting, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've actually went viral. When it's got traction. So I post for value, not to be viral. I post to give some sense of usefulness to people most of the time. And what I noticed, though, was that you get praised in public for what you practice in private. So all these thousands of posts have led to these odd few things going viral for good reason as well, not for just like being funny or being inappropriate or being angry. You know, it's actually being genuine, which is good, and I'm happy about that. But also along the way, obviously it makes you feel great when you go viral and everyone's singing your praises and saying you're a good person and sharing your shit and all that. That's great. But ultimately, I'm more proud of the fact that I've made thousands and thousands of posts along the way.
Yeah, man.
That I've created value and I still continue to do. And even if I create another 5,000 posts and none of them go viral, I'll still post. I'll still show up. I'll still be there. I'll still, and this is not true, and we'll get onto this because I'm sure you've got it as a question. Even when I'm not motivated, I'll still be there. I'll still be showing up.
Yeah.
So it's this whole idea of, because this is what I think's missing now in modern times. We're so attached to the outcome and the goal, hence quick fixes. They're getting more and more prevalent, hence people taking the easy route. We're not designed to take an injection and not eat and not do anything and somehow think we're going to be happy. This is prevalent in society now. We're not designed to get rich quick. We're not designed to get an amazing relationship or level of result quick. We're supposed to take time, develop the ups and downs, ride the waves, and accept the highs and the lows, understand the challenge that comes with it, understand the support, and we're supposed to fall in love with the process. We're supposed to love the journey, and that's what creates true happiness at the end of the day, is understanding like we can't be truly happy until we know sad.
Yeah, man.
But we understand sadness because we know happiness. It's the polarity, isn't it? But most people are so fixated on, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
When this happens, then I'll be happy. But actually, sometimes even when you're sad, you can take lessons from that. That's why we review every quarter, don't we? We review regularly because we notice that made us sad. That wasn't very good. I was quite bad at that. I sucked at that. But here's what I learned from it. Here's how I can do better next time. It's riding the waves, isn't it? This is what I understand about posting, about life in general, is I hit 40 in a couple of months, and I'm so fucking excited to get there because I'm like, what's next? Class. I've got the attitude of like, right, it's going to get even better. I'm hitting me stride now. But through my 30s, I've had a lot of challenge as well, and also through my 20s. And you know what? I'm not going into 40 thinking 40 to 50 is going to be a breeze. I'm going into it think, I'm getting a bit older. My body doesn't recover as well as what I did 20 years ago. There's going to be people around me possibly dying who are older. I've got old grandparents and things, you know. I think in life there's going to be challenge. I think in business, more people are going to want my attention. My time's going to be stretched. My relationship might be strained. There's going to be a lot of things along the way, but I'm anticipating them because people who are successful anticipate problems, but they also fall in love with the highs and lows of every part of life. And I think that's a lesson that's missing massively.
What a great little side tangent you went on there, and a really nice kind of flow of explaining one of the points I had down anyway for us to talk about. But the bit that is relevant to me, I did a podcast of the reality of behind the after 200 episodes of what the 100% podcast has brought me.
Yeah.
And the actual bottom line of what it's brought me is it's brought me 200 lessons.
Yes.
Podcasts that have gone wrong, interviews that haven't gone as well as I'd like, people that I thought would be really good guests that have just brought their own, I guess they're trying to sell on my podcast without actually giving any value.
Yeah.
I've had recordings that have failed halfway through.
Yeah.
And I've made nothing. Not a penny. All of the investment in like travel to come here for the day, all the investment in the kit that I have at home, the investment in having an amazing guy do my editing for me. That's all comes from what I earn and what I want to kind of give back. But the reason I do it is because the 100% podcast, or as originally started as the Grassroots Guy podcast, was lessons that I'd learned in grassroots sport, and then because I enjoyed the mindset more than I did just speaking about people's journeys in sport, I wanted to know what they'd learnt along the way rather than like just talking about football or rugby or cricket or whatever it may be. That's what it's brought me. And it's hopefully like along this journey with the 25,000 downloads that this podcast has had, and then views on YouTube as well. Somebody's going away going, I listened to this podcast yesterday, and this lad, Harry, and this guy, Luke, were talking about vanity and how we can think about it differently. And actually, it's really helped me in my life moving forward.
Yeah.
That's the real message.
Yeah.
But imagine if at 90 episodes I thought, fucking hell, I've just bought this new kit. I thought that I would have had an email from a sponsor like by now. Fuck it, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I'd have missed out on 110 opportunities or 116 opportunities
Yeah.
to get a lesson from somebody.
Yeah.
And this is why I do it. Like, and I know that may sound a bit, I don't know whether unauthentic, but when I started this podcast, there was never, it was a hobby, and that's what it still is now.
Yeah.
But it's become more of a profession. I don't want it to look unprofessional. I want, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it properly.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of posting, which you're better at than me, definitely, in terms of showing up and doing it. But if I was to flip that and go, what could I look at and have a similar kind of outlet or outcome, it would be the podcast.
Yeah.
I keep turning up. Even if I have a month's break where I'm like, I just need to reset, find some new guests, etc.
Yeah.
I'll always come back and keep ticking that tally over. And I think that's a really nice way to look at it. The second thing as well is that, in my opinion, and I don't mind sharing this, we are in, and I am just in the cusp of being okay with the knock-on effect of social media, technology, AI now.
Yeah.
That I don't rely on that solely for my entertainment. I can hold a conversation.
Yes.
I can go down the pub and I can put my phone on the side and I can go for a walk and enjoy what I see around me. Right now, I think the current age group going through education, whether it be primary school, secondary school, college, university, is such a reliance on, even in lessons now, having a screen and distraction, that in 20 years' time, I'm just intrigued to see how people's mental health is, just on a general topic,
100%.
because of the instant gratification
Absolutely.
that is just there. And I don't mean instant gratification in terms of, like, in my comparison, it would be putting a really deep, meaningful post up on Facebook and getting 2 likes. I don't mean that.
Yeah.
And expecting 10,000.
Yeah.
It would be that they just can't sit still.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of discussion, and I'm no expert in this, but there's a lot of discussion and stuff around the rise of neurodiversity at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether there's going to be any studies that come out that show the increase of technology in the world compared to the increase in the rise of neurodivergence as
Absolutely. Well, I do think there's an ongoing trend as well of people calling ADHD and using it as an excuse.
Really?
For a lot of things. And I haven't been tested, but I'm pretty sure that in some way I've got an amount of it.
I genuinely believe that everybody has some kind of thing that could hold them back, right?
Yeah.
For my example would be, if you are dyslexic and, like, my spelling isn't the best, but I'm good with numbers, right? But if you're dyslexic, there are so many tools out there now that if you were to write a piece, you could put it through like a spell check, you could put it through AI to get it looking good.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, like, this is how it's just going to be.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? And that's, I think that crosses over with ADHD. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is as well with like ADHD and things that our attention is so all over the place now because of technology. Obviously, it does play a big part in that. And the thing is with our phone is that we have no social distancing rules with this thing, so it's always there. It's too close. If it's visible, which it always is, it's usually on my phone. It's on my desk when we're eating, which is inappropriate, I feel.
Yeah.
And it's disrespectful to do that when you're with somebody, even if it's on the way down. There's no phones at our tables when we're eating together, me and the partner, I'm eating with my friends or whatever. But it's so easily accessible now that attention is all over the place. But there's a thing, Dr. John Demartini explains it way better than I can, but he's like, with the whole ADHD thing, yes, there's evidence behind it and all the rest, but he says you can be actually very hyper-focused on things that you really truly value. So anybody that's even got like distraction disorder or that they're constantly all over the place, if you show them something that they really, really value, and say it's like a football match and they're into sport or they listen to certain songs, they can pay attention to those things because they value them. Our attention's mostly all over because we're not clear on our values.
And then if you were to look at the education system, that goes against everything that Dr. John Demartini speaks about, isn't it? Because if you throw somebody in a science lesson, what would be my example when I was a kid? Business. I was a smarter kid, but I decided for some reason I wanted to do business studies at school, and I fucking hated it.
Right.
Like, hated every lesson. I didn't get on with the teacher, number one, and it was like, there was a sense of like, I didn't care. It wasn't I didn't care. It was, I just really didn't enjoy what we were learning about. Not in a business sense of like being self-employed. It was about learning about, I don't know, like ridiculous things. I just didn't enjoy it. And I got a double E. In comparison, if there would have been, I don't know, like a masters in sport at school or masters in personal studies at school, I would have been fucking top of the class because I cared about those subjects. And I do think, and I know Simon Squibb talks a lot about the education system at the moment. I don't know if you've seen his stuff, but one of the new political bills that has come in, which is going to stop people getting home tutored. In the UK, or even in England, I believe, which is interesting. Something I recommend people go and get fully educated on, rather than me talking about on the podcast. But it's going to put a stop to people who may want to home educate their kids and give them the education that they think that they need about life, about experiences, and all of those kind of things. Our system doesn't want that, and I think, well, if that suits a kid better than chucking them in science, maths, and business studies, and they learn about how to run a business. How to speak to people properly in situations, how to have uncomfortable conversations. I'm like, of course there's a place for knowing basic maths and English. But at the same time, there's a fucking way bigger place at the table to know how to move on with your life quicker than relying on an education system to get you going.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you could talk all day and be on your soapbox about the education system. We have very little pull, but I think hopefully we are waking up a little bit, because there was always like, you need your basic maths and English and a basic understanding of how to operate your brain. Obviously, you need that. You can't just be going around dumb and stupid. Like, you need the basics, obviously, you know, how to read and write, how to subtract and add up and all this rest. Maybe your basic geography, things like that. But social skills, life skills, even business skills, if that's what but, you know, doing what you're actually interested in obviously needs to be pushed a little bit more, doing what kids are actually want to do, not what they feel they have to do, because that just teaches them in life that as well, people, a school system's not designed for people. It's not, it's designed, it doesn't tell you how to think, it tells you what to think.
Yes.
Really, you know, that's the difference, isn't it? Like, we should be learning how to think for ourselves, but they don't want that, obviously. And again, we could go deep into this, but I think, in all honesty, obviously it needs to change. We're understanding of that. Attention spans are probably most likely getting worse, and they will continue to do that until, again, and it is education. It's getting people to get away from technology a little bit more. You mentioned about being able to be entertained without it, which I think is it's an actual skill now. I think that this is why I still order a magazine, which I get every month to read, like an actual magazine, you know, because some people just don't read actual physical media at all. I play Warhammer. I'm a massive geek, but it's required to have an interaction with somebody. It's actually doing so. I play a lot of board games.
Can you stop ticking off topics on my list, please?
We can get to that. You know, obviously I exercise, you know, regularly without my phone, you know, without having to check it and go, you know, get the social media and emails in between. I do things that require little technology, if not none, which I think is something that we're missing. In this modern lifestyle. Again, we could go down that it's the parents' route, but if we just take this to adults, as adults, we have a responsibility to sometimes go out for a walk and leave our fucking phone in the house. Like, it's amazing how many people can't do that. They can't put their phone away. Some people get their phone out in the cinema. That's one of my fucking pet hates. I fucking hate that, you know.
Double distraction.
I'm honestly like, I've had, there's been times where I've said, put your phone away. I've like been really firm with people. I've times where I've had like loads of kids in the cinema looking on their phones and I've left. Like, it's disrespectful. But at the same time, like, we need to learn to be more present, and it is a skill, obviously. But it's something that I think, especially as an adult, we need to take more responsibility for. Every week I check my screen time, which I think is a very useful thing.
For sure.
But I've also started to check my phone pickups as well, because you can do that now in their stats. So I was shocked when I seen, like, last week, for example, I think it was like 560 pickups.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was like, I've picked my phone up 560 times. Like, that's like that. And obviously some of that is relevant for like genuinely getting back to a message, answering a family member, uploading some valuable content. But out of that 560, probably 500 of them at least were just bullshit.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
fucking around.
Yeah.
So like that's terrifying to me. That those numbers are like, whoa, this is where our brains are going. So we need more present-based activities. We need more data for people as well. I think, like, understanding. Did you realize you picked your phone up 950 times last week?
Yeah.
When people know that and they check and they actually write it down and they're like, oh shit, that's powerful. I feel. I think we need some more of that.
Yeah, and I wonder how many people hide because I think you can choose to have the notification on, can't you, on a Monday or Sunday, where your iPhone says your weekly screen time is available.
Yes.
And people are like, fuck that, because I know that yesterday on my day off I sat on TikTok for 10 hours.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I know that it is called a distraction for a reason. It's wired to distract us from
Correct.
what? Who knows?
Yes.
But it is. That's what it's created for.
Yes.
And they want you on their algorithm for as long as they can keep you
Of
for.
course.
But yeah, I think it's a real interesting thing. So if you're hiding from your weekly screen time, just have a look. It will give you some good insight. Hello, YouTube. I'm stopping you in the middle of this episode because a lot of you who stick around and watch my podcast episodes aren't yet subscribed. So do me a favor before you carry on watching the rest of this episode and just click the subscribe button. And you don't even need to watch every episode, but what it does do is it boosts this channel and it helps me a long way. Enjoy the rest of the show. Mate, on the Fit for Life subject, the last little question from this before we move on to being authentic. 3 of your non-negotiables for maintaining high standards every day and staying motivated.
Number 1 is 100% get to bed on time. As an adult, nothing happens after 9 o'clock that you can't catch up on the next day, unless it's a live gig. That's the only thing that I feel you would have to catch.
I'd have to throw in footy matches there.
Yeah, because if it's live, then obviously,
gig,
so gig or sport.
Yeah.
That's it. Live music, live sport. That's the only thing that happens after 9 p.m. Everything else is on catch up. Like if it's your Netflix show, if it's your emails.
Great British Bake Off.
Yeah, you can just catch it the next day. Right? So number 1 for me is actually, because I wake and sleep at more or less the same time 7 days a week. Most people might find that boring, but actually what that does is that massively helps my circadian rhythm, my natural sleep and wake cycle, but it also gives me supercharged energy most days. So if I wake and sleep at the same time, I get me 7 hours, 7.5 hours, I'm good. I can deal with 6, if I get any less than that, I'm really groggy and ratty.
Yeah.
But like sleep's a priority. As an adult, it should be. It really should be. Like when a baby's sleeping, we're like, God, let him sleep. We should be like that as an adult. Like it's even more important because we've got duties, we've got responsibilities. A baby will always be looked after. An adult needs looked after as well. So for me, daily, bedtime on time. That's 9 p.m. for me because I get up at 5 every day. So it's 9 p.m. Secondly is some sort of movement more days of the week than not. Now, I'm not going to say that you need to move and smash your body 7 days a week. Is there days that I don't move? The odd day. I usually always go for some kind of walk, even if it's just 20, 30 minutes. I'll train hard, usually 4 days a week, sometimes 5. And I'll have a couple of rest days, but then rest days will require a walk. So movement more days of the week than not. Thirdly, I would probably say, did you say for energy? Yeah.
Yeah, and motivation. And well, it's motivation, energy, and maintaining high standards.
Yeah. So I think, because obviously there's a couple of things I would definitely throw journaling in there.
Yep.
But at the same time, I would say high protein, single ingredient, mostly clean diet. Now, I don't mean that to sound boring or predictable, but I mean it as in like your nutrition is fucking paramount. If you are scoffing chips and chocolate and bread and very little nutritious food every day, even if your calories are low, your energy is going to be shit. People can maintain a weight by just being active, which is great, but you can't be truly healthy if you're still eating crap. So I do eat crap. Like tonight, I'll probably have a pizza. It's a weekend. I like a weekend treat. But for the rest of the week, it will be fruits and vegetables. It will be lean meats. It will be, rice. It will be eggs. It will be things that are nutritious, single ingredient mostly. And it will be foods that are good for fueling me. I think that's critical as well. So if I was to say those 3, I would say bedtime, I would say movement, and I would say nutrition. Get a handle on them. Non-negotiables. Almost every day, and if they can't be done every day, because I realize life gets in the way, more days of the week than not. That's a philosophy of mine for almost everything. Well, everything that's positive in your life.
Yeah.
Because if you do it less days of the week than not, so let's say you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then you stop Wednesday and you start again the following Monday and something happens, you're sometimes going a week without doing it. But if you have that philosophy more days of the week than not only does it create more consistency and less time off, it creates more of a habitual cycle because you're doing it more and more and more and more. Eventually, it'll become a habit when you do something over and over again. You'll develop it as part of your character. And when it's your character, it ingrains your identity. And your self-identity is the strongest force in the whole universe.
Yeah.
You, who you believe you are. This is why people who believe that big boned are always being fat. And they're stuck to that idea, never lose weight until they change the identity of, I was a fat person, but I'm not anymore. Or I'm a fit, active, healthy person now. But if I've always been this way, this is just who I am. The identity crisis is massively prevalent. So you do things more days of the week than not. You develop habits, structure, routine, character, and eventually identity.
It's also interesting, isn't it, on a habits perspective, that people want quick fixes. You give them some habits that are going to fasten up speed up the results that they're getting. But then they commit to it 50-50. You got to think of it like a scales, right? Like if you're only doing those habits 3.5 days of the week out of the 7, you're going to literally balance the scales out and be the same.
Yeah.
And I think when it is a bit of a paradox, I think, because people will say to you on a onboarding call or in the comments on Facebook, oh yeah, but I want it to happen quickly. Hence the rise of all of these quick fixes that we have online with regards to weight loss and mental health. You can look at it on both sides of the fence. When you say, okay, go to bed properly, eat well, and what was the other one you said? So I move more days of the week than not.
Yep.
And people go, it can't be that simple. Well, actually, it is.
It is.
And there's no such thing as perfection, which I think is really important to say and fits in with my 100% message. Like 100% doesn't mean you have to do it 100% of the time.
Yep.
If you're doing it more often than you're not, you're going to start ticking away and nicking away at whatever results it is you want to get. So yeah, I love that, Luke. Really good stuff. Mate, authenticity. One thing I would say about you, and I think it's why you bring people to you, is that you're not afraid to show the wrestling, which for me, I'm like, mate, even like whatever the local shows you do, I'm like, that's so fucking cool. Like, it's really, really cool being a wrestling fan all my life. But the other thing you're not afraid to show as well is like the geeky side of you.
Yeah.
And one thing why I'm bringing this up today is I had a conversation with somebody that's just joined my community on Facebook, and I was discussing about why they wanted to join. And he literally said in a message straight back to me, mate, I want to thank you straight away because you've made me realize that one of the reasons I'm not feeling my best at the minute is my wife and I, since we've had a child and we've been married and we've put all of the things that we used to enjoy to one side. So this was like football and self-care, essentially, whatever that may be to you. So for you, it would be like wrestling, your Warhammer. Why is that so important for you to nurture that, I guess, geeky side and to maintain yourself as a person?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a few things that it hits. See, when we're doing something that we want to do, when we're doing things that interest us, that excite us, that used to light us up as a kid, there's the very, very powerful effect of nostalgia as well.
I love it, yeah.
Huge. Like, I obviously grew up in the 90s, so anything 90s I'm instantly drawn to. Like, if I see a video of the 90s, even if I wasn't interested in that thing, I'll stop and I'll watch it because it draws out childhood, right? Especially as a guy, when we grow up and we have more duties and obligations, we let ourselves go, but we also lose touch because we think we have to be a man.
Yeah.
And the idea of a man is someone who's on it, grafts, who doesn't show emotions, right? The only time they'll show emotions is when they're pissed down the pub or when their football team wins or something like that, you know what I mean? Which is quite sad. But we lose touch of hobbies. And what tends to happen as well is a lot of our time and attention goes to family and away from friends, which I get it. You have your responsibilities, be it kids, be it partners and people who grow older, maybe need your attention a little bit more. But I feel that keeping in touch with what I used to like as a kid keeps me young. The the problem with a lot of people is they'd love to go back to what they used to do as a kid, whether it be skateboarding, playing music, board games even, whether video games. I've got no problem with video games. The issue is doing too much of it. When you sit on your arse all day and play, World of Warcraft for 9 hours, or you play Call of Duty for 7 hours every day, and you're not exercising and you're not looking after yourself, that's toxic, that's negative, right? And you're just hanging around people online and not interacting with people. That's dangerous. Even though it's fun, eventually you get sick, you get bored. Everyone needs a purpose. But for me, I love playing Warhammer because I wanted to do it as a kid, but I thought it was too complicated. It really was. As a child, it was really hard for my brain to actually learn the rules. Now, as an adult, I'm a bit more patient and I can kind of understand things better, obviously. So I've gotten into that. And miniature painting, for me, it's a funny one because I've always wanted to be artistic, but I never considered myself an artistic person. So I couldn't draw very well. I couldn't paint very well. I wasn't very good at sport. I found weightlifting and I found training and I got into that. And I found music and I got into that. But I always wanted to be artistic. Miniature painting helps me stay artistic, but it also gives me total focus. When you're painting something this big, so detailed, under a microscope, magnifying glass, I should say, you can't do anything but focus and time just goes. So I love that side of it. There's a positive impact on your mental health because of that, because you're focused on one thing. You're not all over the place. You're not distracted through just mindless scrolling. But also, if I think of things like getting into wrestling, it ticks a lot of boxes in terms of what I value. I loved it as a kid. It's fun. I get appreciation from the crowd. It's physical. I have to be physically fit and strong to be able to perform. I'm learning things that I always wanted to know as a kid of how the business works, stuff like that. That's interesting. But I think as well, keeping in touch with your childlike side is critical because it gives you as well something that you can do just for you, that you don't have to consider somebody else about. It's great if you can, if you're board gaming and you can invite friends around, things like have a weekly board games night, stuff like that. But I think it's critical to keep in touch with that fun side because it keeps you young. It gives you something to be excited about, but it can also give you something to challenge your brain.
You're an only child?
Yes.
Same here. I also feel that, or believe in myself, that because I am an only child, I can do that better than some other people. Some people are like, how can you spend 2 hours of your evening doing my thing at the minute is paint by numbers, right? I'm doing it's class. It's an image of, I'm right into my World War II history. Okay. So it's a Spitfire and a Messerschmitt in Battle of Britain, having a bit of a dogfight. And it's going to look amazing. It's obviously not there yet. Yeah. But I do think maybe it's the era we're in where it needs to be a media distraction rather than something else. But I don't want to generalize that because I think if you can find your state of creative flow and time goes like that, it feels incredible, doesn't it? Yeah. Do you think there is an element, though, because you are an only child, you know how to occupy yourself better than if you were not to be?
Yeah, for sure, because obviously growing up, there was times when it was just me. Yeah. And I played on my own. And I think a lot of only children learn that. So I think that's an advantage sometimes.
Yeah, I do too.
When you're so used to being around people, some people use their phone as distraction now, which I do as well at times. But yeah, that's probably growing up had a positive impact in that sense, in terms of knowing how to be okay on your own. I think now, and as well as we get older, and a lot of men will agree with this, me missus is away for a week. She's on a fitness retreat at the minute. But I'm actually quite looking forward to just having a night on my own. Some people say, I can't say that. But I'm actually, it's quite nice to have your own space for a day or a night or whatever. And just watch what you want to watch on telly. People say, walk around the house naked or what. I never really got that.
Or have a shit with the door open. Why? The fucking rest of the house is stink.
Something But I'm just looking forward to that little alone time. That's quite nice as an adult sometimes.
Yeah,
but
it is, man.
When that happens, I guess growing up, you probably do learn that from being an only child. But I do think also it's quite an important skill to actually enjoy time on your own. I think that's why journaling, meditation, sometimes exercise on your own. If you're a runner, going out for a run on your own, great. If you love that, go in the gym, it's all good. Too much time on anything. Too much time on your own, destructive. Too much time with not being on your own, destructive. If you're not used to being on your own, you go mad. Again, life is about balance and harmony, isn't it? But this is something that most people struggle with. It's one or the other. It's all or nothing. It's in or out. It's all this is just the way it is. That's just the way it is. There's none of this hang on, let's let's work this out a little bit. Let's
Perspective, innit?
Yeah,
It's such
exactly.
a massive word, yeah. And at the minute, I mean, we don't want to go into that subject, but I think there's such a lack of that, a lack of perspective. You either are this or you're that. No, it's not true. I did a podcast, so I threw myself out there a little bit on this, like all of these headlines that saying the UK is like going in the mud, and I'm like, fuck's sakes, like it's really not. Have a look. If you really look around you, it's like fine. It's just, yeah, but it's interesting, the lack of perspective at the minute, I think. What's the biggest trick for you, or biggest thing that you would, if people are like, oh yeah, actually, maybe I need to look at things with a bit of a perspective, and I don't want to get drawn out by headlines and things that make you sit on the left or the right and whatever. If you were to say, what is the biggest thing that you can say to offer people a place to get perspective from, or the biggest tip to give perspective and room for yourself to give perspective, what would you say?
Oh, that's a good one. So there's a couple of things that I think are critical. Number one is obviously where the old Tony Robbins quote, where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Yep.
And that's super true. So you're focusing on everything that's going wrong in the world, the government, other lives. You're always going to focus on the negative. That's normal human behavior. It's basic psychology to seek threat and make sure you're all right. Is there danger here? That's what the brain does. But I think listening or looking at something positive every day is critical. So every morning when I wake up, mine and my partner's routine will be, we'll make coffee, I'll have my greens drink, we'll sit with the cats, and we'll sit before I go and coach for 10 minutes and listen to a podcast or a motivational video, like, say, for example, if it's a Tony Robbins thing or a Jim Rohn thing or a Zig Ziglar or Eric Thomas or Jordan Peterson or Chris Williamson, something on YouTube. And the great thing about YouTube and media now is the more that you interact and look at things, it's interest media, the more it's going to show you. So thankfully, I look at a lot of things that I have all the time. So when I open up the apps, good things are shown to us. The problem with most people is they're looking at shit, and then as soon as they open the apps, they're getting more shit fed to them.
Yeah.
So I distance myself from that as much as possible. If it's there, I'll try and scroll past it, not look at the comments. Obviously, I'm normal, I'm human. Sometimes I get roped into a thing, and this looks like it could be quite interesting to see the war that's going on here in the comments or the piss takes that's happening. But focus as much as you can, even if it's just for a couple of minutes, into the things that are positive for your life on your socials, because you'll get fed more of them, which is the great thing about algorithms now, because it's showing you interest, not just what they want you to see. It will show you what you're actually interested in, which is great. But I think the responsibility side on top of that would be gratitude every day. So I take 5 wins down every night in my journal. Every night, I'll even get to the night time and I'll be like, oh, I forgot about that. And it only happened 6 hours ago. And then I'll write it down. I'll be like, actually, that was a pretty cool win. That was quite a nice lesson. That was something appreciative. Like, for example, I spoke to my mate for 40 minutes on FaceTime yesterday. That was a nice moment.
Yeah.
I signed someone up on my program. That was a nice moment. I went out for a 1.5 mile walk yesterday. That was a nice moment. I got to bed on time. That was a nice moment. I'm coming in for this podcast. Great moment. Some of the moments are bigger than others, but I appreciate every one, even if it's big, small, or medium. Like, I just appreciate 5 things every day. That always gives me perspective that there's good happening and there's good about to come, because I know now in my routine, every night I will find 5 good things. Even if shit's hit the fan, even if things haven't gone well, I'll find 5 good things.
Yeah.
I'll find it tonight. I'll find it tomorrow.
I don't mind admitting this. When I first started, I've been in the program now 4 and a bit years with Paul, maybe 4 years.
Yep.
And we get taught, and I think it's a really important thing to notice the smaller moments, because then the bigger moments become magic ones.
Yes.
And then the magic moments stay in your mind, glimmers, whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
And I was really good at the start of finding magic moments and whatever. And then over the last couple of quarters, I maybe got a little bit complacent. And then when I went to check my magic moments at the last quarterly, I was like, fucking hell, I only wrote down 3.
Yep.
But I knew throughout that quarter, although it wasn't the most amazing quarter I've had in the 4 years of using the journal that I've had, there were way more than 3 magic moments. So it was a really great reminder to be like, right, if there's a reason that your energy isn't where you want it to be, or a reason that your energy wasn't, I had a chat with Scott. I don't mind saying I a couple of weeks in the last quarter, I was like, mate, like this is hard work at the moment.
Yeah.
The YouTube side of things, the podcast side of things, and this is the reality of it, right? But then when I think about it, I'm like, well, it's because you're not noticing those mini moments of a sunset where you're like, fucking hell, that looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's amazing what it can do to even like talking about it. I can feel not goosebumps or anything, but I'm like, oh, just talking about it because my energy's there. I'm like, shit, look at those clouds, look at that lighting, look at the pink sky. It's actually quite incredible, isn't it, really? And I know it sounds a bit woo-woo, but if you miss that and you're constantly head down phone, headlines
absolutely
popping up,
I'm fortunate enough. I'm not going to say lucky enough. I'm fortunate enough to live in South Shields, right next to the coast.
Yeah.
So I go in the sea every morning with my mate David, and sometimes there's a couple of people join me, but every day I fucking love getting in that water. It's hard, especially in the winter when it's cold. Your brain says no, but every time I take that as a great win. I'm like, I get the chance to go in the sea and feel the rush of the coldness on my body. I get to watch the sun rise on a morning through this, and sometimes it's dark and sometimes the sun's already up and what, but I get to be in nature for a period of 10 minutes every morning and light my morning up. That's a big moment for me, and I do it every single day. People think, well, doesn't it just get boring? Well, no, because it makes me feel something. But I'm also in touch with that simplicity of nature. Like, people forget, you go out for a walk, you can appreciate that you just went out for a walk in nature. Especially if you go out without your phone, which is a magnificent thing to do for anybody watching. I tell you what, though, it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like detaching from a son or daughter.
Yeah, it's
getting
crazy.
rid of this, it's nuts.
In terms of, we spoke about the element of flow when you're doing your miniatures.
Yes.
I also did a bit of research, Luke, and found that you spent some days with some Zen monks, 3 days with Zen monks a while ago in your journey. What was the biggest lessons that you took from that moment? Because I know when you live with monks, and especially with ascension meditation, it's about finding that state of flow and it's actually fitting in with the subject, right? Because we're talking about being okay in your own company.
Yeah.
What are the lessons that you took from that experience?
There's a couple of things. So obviously, environment matters massively. Like, these guys have very little. Like, if you were to look at the way they live, it's very simple. But they're some of the happiest people you'll come across. They're always smiling. They're always upbeat. Their energy's always good. They're not like bouncing around energy, but they're just a calm, warming energy. So over the 3 days, obviously, we put our phones in a locker and we didn't touch them for the time. And we meditated like 6, 7, 8 times a day, but it was really challenging because the meditation wasn't like guided.
Yeah.
It wasn't with music.
There's no in space.
It was silent, and it was eyes open meditation.
Oh, wow.
So you stared at a blank wall for 15 to 30 minutes, to sometimes 40 minutes at a time. I'm not going to lie, there was times when I was sort of drifting a bit, as you would. But that level of focus was really hard from just getting into it, you know. But obviously, the more you did it, it got slightly better each time. What I noticed at the end was, though, whilst I was doing it, I wasn't really getting too much from it. It was after. So it was always the delayed effect. Like anything. Like exercise, you go and put yourself through it, you don't really get anything from it. Like, you might feel a little buzz when you're doing it, but it's pain. It's uncomfortable. It's like you're not going to lose weight on the scales while you're doing it. Later down the line, though, that's when the magic happens, right? You don't get stronger while you lift, and you get stronger in the rest, right?
Delayed gratification again, right? Yeah.
So I noticed after, obviously it was just 3 days, but it was 3 days intense, like being in the environment. Immersion is so key for I think, getting the next level, like putting yourself in a room. Like, for example, a Tony Robbins event, like life-changing for me. There was 2 days UPW in 2016 or 17. Life changed after that, being immersed for 15 hours in that environment. Same with the monk thing. It showed me the importance and power in presence. But I noticed how relaxed and calm I felt when I'd been away from my phone. And it's that I learned a lot from, like, actually understanding the power of that, being away from technology, and understanding being focused in other things like walking and being present. How much that's a fucking gift. Like, to give your presence to somebody and your attention, your genuine time, that's the best gift you can give someone, especially these days. Like, especially with technology and stuff, like I feel so appreciated when somebody just talks to me without their phone present.
Yeah.
When you just have a conversation with somebody, or you go for a walk with somebody and your phone's not there. Like, it's just fucking nice. It's just nice to be present.
Yeah, it is.
And it also has that knock-on effect of the calmness. You just feel less pressure when you're more present. A lot less pressure, but we're dragged in so many different directions here. So I would say for that, it would literally be delayed gratification and the power in presence.
Again, obviously, when you talk about meditation and staying with monks for 3 days, and in fact, next weekend I'm going to Arjuna's retreat. So
nice.
It's my first kind of experience of locking myself away and doing that kind of event and lesson properly. Obviously, I've done the apps. I've used Dispenza's stuff.
Yep.
I've done the stuff online, but I think going to, as you say about environment, but I think again when you break it down, there's such a, without going too much into it, there's such a bit of a attitude towards meditation. I can't get my brain to stop thinking. Well, that's the point. Number one, is that it's about getting used to what your brain does and how it thinks and where it moves and all of those kind of things. But secondly, it is quite a simple thing to do, to put your phone away, to bring yourself present with somebody. And then it's noticing that distraction of, like my brain has just twitched towards go into my pocket to grab my phone, but then being present enough to say, no, actually, like I'm involved in this conversation with Luke or with Scott or my girlfriend right now. I'll leave that and I'll deal with that when this conversation's over. And just similar to your like energy when we're talking about maintaining high standards for yourself and all of those kind of things. All the things you said, they're not rocket science, are they? But they're currently hard to grasp.
Yes.
In the day and age we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Very hard. And the whole thing about your mind wandering, I meditate every single morning. Well, sorry, 6 mornings a week. I don't really do Sunday, but Monday to Saturday, my routine is, like I said, get up, coffee, greens drink, sit with the cats, listen to the motivational speeches. But when we finish the coffee, I'll stick on a 5-minute guided meditation track on YouTube every morning before I go and coach. That's where I just get still. But almost all of the time, my brain ended up wandering within that 5 minutes. But that's okay. It's the act of sitting and doing it.
Yeah.
It's okay if my brain's going, you should be doing this, and then you've got this to do, and don't forget about that. And by the way, don't say, this is what you're going to say in the next half an hour. This is what's going to happen. Hang on, I'm listening to the meditation. Yeah, breathe like she says. Okay, but then when you get home, you're going to do this.
Yeah,
and I'll go in and out of it.
Crazy.
I've been doing it over a decade, mate, and I still fucking wander in my mind.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing the act. It's like the person who, let's say they can't get a handle on their calories, right? Let's say they just can't lose the weight. It's still important that they go to the gym to do the act of doing that, even if they're never losing the weight and that's what they want to do, because they're still getting the benefit from doing the thing.
Yeah.
You're getting other benefits from it. The benefit is I still my body, and I at least somewhat still my mind, and I'm developing routine and structure. Even though I'm sitting and I'm like, I'm not listening to this fully. I only heard about a minute of the 5. That's fine. I'm still doing the positive action. Even though it's not 100%. Doesn't have to be. I'm actually in it and I'm immersed and I'm executing on the thing.
Yeah, I think it's really nice to take us into the last talking point of today. When I look back at my worst times mentally, the suicidal thinking and the anxiety and the low moods that I used to get incredibly annoyed with myself about where my brain would go. I'd get frustrated about like what I was thinking about. I'd get frustrated about the fact that I kept having these intrusive thoughts and although obviously in a completely different frame of mind, because I was getting annoyed about the distraction of mind and where my brain was going, even if I was trying to start meditation for the first time, I would then almost like make those feelings and thoughts grow. And I do wonder how many people we're talking about mental health now, are in the same boat, that they just haven't quite allowed themselves to let their brains do what they want and just remember that it's a passing thought.
Yeah.
Like you're saying about 1 minute I'm distracted here, the next minute I'm thinking about this. When you're at your lowest, I think it's really common for people to get really fucking annoyed about what they think about, which then kind of adds on to the feelings and the sadness and the pressure that they're going through at the minute. And there is a space to allow whatever you're feeling right now. And I think it's something that's really important to say. It is really important to allow yourself to feel low feelings and low moods. But it's then knowing that there are habits and things that you can do and keep practicing that get you out of the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was Sam Gibson who taught me this, but he learned it from another guy who was talking about depression in terms of where it lives. It's like the void of, you've got your expectation of how things should be.
Yeah.
So you get angry that it's not there. Like, I should be here, this should not be happening. And then you've got your reality down here where you actually are, and you're swimming between the two. You're like, well, I'm here, but I should be there, and I'm annoyed, and this is where it lives, in this void. Whereas actually we need to sort of close these up and say, right, you're not at your expected place. You're in the reality, but that's okay. Like, where you're at is where you're at. Like, seeing things as they are, not worse than they are. Another Tony Robbins thing, changed my life. That's most people's brains. Catastrophizing, exaggerating, overcomplicating. But when we do those things, it often gives us an excuse to then not do the work that's going to help us. Because a lot of the time, obviously, we're not motivated. We don't feel like it. We can think of a million other things to do that are easier than doing the hard stuff. But as we know, do easy things all the time, like avoid, overeat, smoke, drink, procrastinate. That's kind of easy to do, but it leads to a harder life. Hard things like going out for a walk, being grateful, reaching out to people, saying you need help, hard things, easier life. But the problem is that we're so focused on the expectation, and we're swimming in this void, we're not being real about things and sticking with the reality, thinking, right, I might not be at my expectation, but the reality of the situation is this. What can I do with where I am, with what I've got? Like, I've got a mate who's going through a really tough time at the minute, and I've been talking to him, and one of the things he said when he was really low was, I feel like I'm broken. And I was talking to him, and I said, mate, I don't think that's true. I think you're just misaligned. And I think that's most people who are low and depressed, that are misaligned. They're living a life that they don't want to live. They're maybe living a life to please others. They're doing what they think they should do. And they're also swimming in the void. They're avoiding the reality, that they've got their focus is on the expectation, and they can't see a way out.
It's like the should be happy comment.
Yes.
I feel like I should be happy, but you're not.
Yeah.
So what's next?
And the expectation is I should be happy all of the time. No, you should not. You should not be happy all the time. The only reason you know happiness is because sadness has been prevalent in your life at some point. And the only reason you know sadness as well, which if you're in a dark, sad place now, is because you know happiness and happy feelings. You can't know one without the other. So it's just a matter of you're swimming in the void again. You're saying, I should be there. I should. Like, stop focusing on the shoulds and focusing on what do you want to happen next? Because nobody really says, well, I want to feel fucking much worse.
Yeah, I know.
I just want to feel even worse than I am. Like, no, well, what do you want to happen? Well, I want to feel better. Right, well, what does that look like? Because that's what most people say. I want to feel better. Right. So, in order to get a feeling, you need to do a different action or have a different thought. But the problem is you have the same thoughts, do the same actions, you get the same feelings, you get the same swimming identity of self-loathing. But self-love and self-loathing is just a matter of sometimes choosing one different action compared to what... And the hardest bit about change, I think this might be a Joe Dispenza thing, the hardest bit about change is not doing the same thing you did yesterday.
It's mega true.
Yeah. Because that's what most people do, just live the same cycle because it's convenient, comfortable, familiar. Brain goes, this is familiar, I'm safe. Especially if you're in a low place, you don't want to be doing anything uncertain, because at least you know low, you know sadness, because unexpected is, oh, well, what if it goes wrong? Even though it might work, you're so stuck in this identity of self-loathing, it's difficult to get out of that. But more often than not, it is literally just about one small decision, one small step, like reaching out to that person saying, I need help, or I need your guidance. Maybe a better way to do it, because sometimes, especially guys and egos, rather than saying, I
Don't
need
want
help.
Yeah.
Maybe just, I need your guidance, or I need your support, or I need your plan. Everyone needs a plan. Most guys don't have a plan. So what do you plan to do? Well, I don't know. I'll see how it goes. It's bullshit. It doesn't work. I'll see how it goes. I'll just see what happens. I'll hope things get better. Hope isn't a strategy. Every guy who's struggling mentally needs a plan. They need structure and they need routine. We already kind of have one anyway. We're just doing what's familiar and comfortable, but it's not serving. But we need structure and routine and accountability and other men to lift it up. Other men to say, oh, I want a bit of what he's got. You know, other men to say, come on, let's do better. Raise your standards. Come on, do it. I know you don't feel like it, but do it. You'll feel much better after it. All right, okay. But you need to be around other men who are doing it so that you feel a little bit left behind in a good way. Because I feel if people are getting ahead of you, you're like, well, I need to raise to catch them up. I don't want to be behind. But most men, their egos are too fragile, be like, oh, well, I'll just feel shit because I'm so far behind. You can look at it that way. Or you can be... So to make this final point, Harry, people say that comparison is the thief of joy. And although I do like that phrase, I understand the concept, I feel that comparison is the seed of opportunity, if you choose it to mean so.
It's the power of perspective again, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
Someone's ahead of you and you're like, I wonder how he got there. I wonder how he overcame that. I wonder how he did it. Rather than saying, well, it's all right for him, it's different for me. That's most men, victims. But you can be a victim or you can be a victor, just depending on how you choose to see things and what you choose to do as your best next step.
Incredible, mate. I've got one final question for you for today's episode.
Yeah.
My traditional question you've already answered, the best bit of advice you've ever been given.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you now, what would you say to, if you were on the same path to Luke John Harrison when he was an 18-year-old, and you now as a near 40-year-old could go back and give him one bit of, don't do that again, here's this bit of advice instead, what would it be?
This is a good question, but a lot of the time people think that you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. I think a lot of the mistakes lived are lessons learned that if you hadn't lived through them, you might make them later on. So it's like a lot of the things that you learn about drinking drugs, for example.
Get them out of the way.
I'm kind of glad I got them out of the way. I really am, because I might have thought I'd be missing out. You know what I mean? I think it would probably be to study earlier self-development. Be two things. Probably study self-development earlier, like get on the books, the podcasts, the developmental route early, because I didn't really get onto it till about 26, 27. I think if I started 10 years earlier, it would have been a great run-in. And I think actually the other one would probably be a finance thing. It would be invest 10% of your money, because I just wasted all of my money up until about 30. And I think given that extra 10, 15 years of actually putting it into a stocks and shares ISA or something, or even just a savings account, like what difference that would have made to the choices I could make from now, etc., and how I could maybe even give more generously or whatever. Like, I feel from a money perspective, the amount of thousands I wasted on cocaine, on alcohol, on stupid shit that I didn't need, and I think, wow, that could be like a massive investment that could help somebody else or help me grow in other ways. I think it's being smarter with your money.
Class,
but
man.
then you've still got to learn the lessons, what comes with that as well. So, but I think you never regret starting earlier in a way,
So
do you know
true.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but you'll always kind of regret starting too late.
Insane, mate. Thank you very much. That was the first and final third episode for you. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Where can people come and find you on social media if they want to come find out more about Luke John Harrison?
Luke John Harrison on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm on TikTok as well. Literally just the name Luke John Harrison. There you go.
Insane. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please go over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and drop a 5-star review. And if you're watching on YouTube, Luke, give them a wave. There, your camera. Drop, like, subscribe below. It goes a long, long way to helping the show. We'll see you here with an episode every Friday. Take care.